Bad posture, weak knees, stiff back, stiff hips are all common problems for people in the modern day. This is because our new sedentary lifestyle, where we're mainly sitting down for the majority of the day, has made it so a lot of the movements that our body should know has been unlearned. It has caused us to develop unhealthy joints, weaker muscles, and even weaker bones. And if I'm honest, if this lifestyle becomes more common, especially as I think it may do over the next coming decades, these issues with joints and being aching and having pains will probably stop being an old man's issue and instead start a lot earlier. So the ideal goal here is to be someone who is athletic, strong, able, and flexible in their older years. Someone who can still do all the things that they used to do when they were 20 years younger, maybe 30 years younger, but this time with more experience, and someone who can be a role model for their kids or their grandkids in terms of physical health. Ultimately, we want to be somebody who has the least amount of aches and pains possible. We want to be the 96-year-old marathon runner or the 70-year-old weightlifter or bodybuilder. So I made a 7-exercise workout plan to specifically target these muscles that will be able to make sure that we can maintain our strength, our joint health, our bone health, and our muscles for as long as possible. And the added benefit for this as well is that these will be able to help us in the moment, in the present day, now. So I've formulated this using what's put in Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia. And if you haven't seen already, I've done a full guide on that, which will be in the card here as well. And in addition to that, I've also done a video on the Zone 2 cardio, which will either be at the end of the video or another card as well. So let's get straight into it. Starting off with stretching. Now, I've been in the gym for a long time doing stuff that's mainly considered bodybuilding. I've always lacked on the stretching department, which means that I have had muscles that are aching a lot more than I might have. And I've also got a lot stiffer muscles with less flexibility than I really should have, at least at this age. The way that I found doing this stretching is once I was doing the marathon, obviously my legs were really starting to ache, so I was just doing a really simple plan. So all I do is just some hamstring extensions, some opening up of the hip flexors. Hip flexors? Yeah, the hip things. Also a little bit of stretching of the quads and also the outer part of the leg that I'm not actually aware of the muscle, but like the outer part. Now, I'm starting this workout with hip thrusts. Now, hip thrusts are a really good glute-specific workout. Now, what the glutes do is they're able to stabilize your body as well as the fact that they play a big part in your posterior chain, which is just your entire spine. They're also really beneficial in making sure that the bottom of your spine doesn't curve and you don't end up sticking your bum out. Not only does it hit the glutes, but it also hits a little bit of the hamstrings as well. Bulgarian split squats. Now these are actually quite difficult as well because you have to have a good amount of balance. This is really good for your quads, which is actually the muscle that we didn't hit on the hip thrusts, even though it does partially work your glutes and your hamstrings as well. But it's very good for balance. It's also very good for making sure that each leg is as strong as the other leg, if that makes sense. Instead of just doing pushes that takes both legs, this one's one by one. So the third exercise of this plan is Romanian deadlifts. Now the benefits of this one is very similar to the hip thrust, but it's also slightly different in terms of this actually purposefully stretches out your hamstrings. It can also hit the lower back a little bit. You do not want to feel like you're mainly working your lower back. But I know for me especially, when I'm doing the RDLs, I'm really trying to make sure that my back is straight instead of having my back curved like this. Now you can actually see in the footage that I do get better at this as time goes on. So the first set, my back is quite arched. I don't know if you can tell. And the second set, my back is a little less arched. And by the third set that I didn't record it, I would like to believe that it was also not very arched at all. Now it does look a little bit strange on the video, but it looks like my back's like this, but I can assure you it's not, because it's just because I've got my t-shirt tucked in and the t-shirt's hanging down. It looks like I'm really arching it, but I'm not. Yeah, my form for this one actually isn't perfect, I'll be completely honest. This is kind of a newer exercise for me, but in general what I'm kind of going off is really trying to push my butt back, get a nice stretch in the hamstrings, and then to not put the barbell too low to the point where I'm using my back. Smith machine deep squat. This is one of my favorite ones. So it's like a normal squat, but you don't have to go through the full range of motion. You can if you want, but you don't have to go through the full range of motion. Instead, you kind of just go for the last 50%. So you're going to want to get your bum right down to the bottom, try and get it as close to the floor as you can, and then accelerate upwards, slowly down, accelerate upwards, slowly down, just something like that. So what this does is obviously an overall leg workout, just as similar to the squat, but because you go so low down, it also really helps strengthen the muscles around your knees. This is popular in Instagram for the guy knees over toes. So this is really good for longevity knee training, especially to do with the joints and supporting the muscles around. Seated calf raises. Again, another one that's kind of a little bit newer to me. For a little while I wasn't really grinding out legs, at least like I plan on doing now. But the seated calf raise is pretty good. So for example, if you're going to get into MMA or anything of the like, this is kind of the muscle that surprised me the most in terms of it used to ache the most. I used to specifically do Muay Thai. And I remember one time we were doing this thing where we had to jump over the cone and then to the left of the cone and to the right of the cone and then behind the cone. We used to do that over and over and over again. And literally the day after, my calves were killing. It was so bad. So working this muscle that we use every single day when it comes to walking, is also going to be really good for us when we get older. Imagine you're older and you're trying to walk up a hill. It's going to be your calves that's going to take a lot of the brunt of the force in terms of getting you up there and actually using the power for you to go on that incline. It's mainly the calves. Now, switching from the legs onto more of stability and core exercises, we have bicycle crunches. Now, again, this isn't one that I actually usually do. I would do it in the MMA class that I was going to, but only when I was forced to do it. So my kind of philosophy behind putting this at the end of the workout is, not only have I kind of already used my abs in, for example, the RDLs for keeping my back nice and straight, but in this one in particular, I like to imagine that because I'm doing this motion here, I'm strengthening the abs kind of on the side of my body, which is also a really strong muscle for making sure that you are flexible and making sure that you can keep your balance well. In addition to that, I do know that in terms of spinal injuries, a lot of the time it's from kind of moving to the right and trying to pick something up while your back is bent and twisted in ways that are unnatural. It's a lot better to just go down like this. Whereas I do understand that a lot of the time that is actually unavoidable. So my personal philosophy, I'm not saying that this is backed by science or anything, is that if I ever need to do that, I would like for my side abdominals I would like for my side abdominals to be a little bit more powerful. Hanging leg raises. To be honest, I'm kind of just doing this one for fun and for aesthetics, even though when I was doing it, as I'm sure you'll be able to hear in a second, it wasn't very fun at all. But I've included it because it's really good for the lower abs, which is really good for aesthetic reasons, and plus it's good for stability as well. Obviously, there's probably going to be an exercise that's a little bit better, but this one's easy to do, and it's easy to understand how to do as well. It's it's got a very low point of entry. So these exercises done over time with intention will help your joints and your muscles and will help you have more longevity into your older years. It will protect you from some of the most common pains and aches that we are expected to get in our older years, in the later stages of our physical development. So this workout is essentially a variation of a leg day. It's more glute and hamstring focused. But I would suggest if you're in a bodybuilding program or if you're trying to go for aesthetics or something, definitely try and include a second day. Don't make this your only day just because it doesn't hit the quads as much as you'd like. Maybe for the second leg day of your plan, make it more quad focused. Do more leg extensions and lunges and the like. So, thank you for watching the video, people. I'm trying to get a video out every Tuesday, if I can. And then if I'm actually able to record my workouts, then I'll be able to get a lot more content out. And then I'll probably be able to do one every 2 weeks. Again, I'm just going through the motions of the recent books that I've read and stuff like that. And stuff from my personal life that I believe I'll be able to share. But I am glad that you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much, people. Mwah. Like and subscribe if you'd like. I don't know, just if you'd like to.